Hey Justin, so this is Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. So I always have to say this. This is a great film, obviously. I'm all about documentaries. I'm all about helping those filmmakers get their word out in a different way. I hadn't seen a Vince Carter sporting event in a long time because I'm so busy with what we're doing. This surprised me. It was such well written, well crafted, and I love how you did everything on that for someone who's not necessarily a sports guy. How often does a black guy tell you he's not necessarily a sports guy? Probably never, right? So for me to see it in a different light, that says something. This was just equally, if not slightly better than what I saw LeBron James coming up on a documentary on him. This is fabulous. Talk about how this came about because it's never easy to put all this stuff together.
Yeah, yeah. For me, um, Vince, it was everybody kind of knew that it was going to be Vince's last year, right? It was he was going to retire, and to people want to figure out a way to celebrate those 22 years of Vince being in the NBA because 22 years, we literally played in four different decades, which is I think that's unheard of. I don't think anybody else has ever done it, to be honest with you, in the NBA. So, Vince is usually closely guarded. He's very media savvy. That's the way he's always been. But this was a chance to kind of break down that curtain and get this show a little bit behind the scenes and to, pay tribute to somebody who's done a lot for the league in different ways. So I think that's kind of how it came about at first. It was originally supposed to be a digital series with Nike and with Nike and the NBA PA and Lineage Digital, but then when it became a feature after everything that happened with the pandemic, they brought me on board to kind of come craft that feature and to make this the digital series into a longer form project.
Talk about having all access. It's not easy having all access and then going through the NBA and then whatever else, because that's a whole nother ball game. What was it like behind the scenes? And I think I found it interesting because my friend David Perez was doing security for everybody when they were all locked in the bubble. And
Yeah.
the footage that you had, the stuff that was being shot, I thought that was fascinating because he was telling me what it was like, but to actually see it when it's starting to come down to the end, that was fascinating. Congratulations on that.
Thanks. You know, uh, you have to have all access in these things, or else I think the biggest thing is you want to tell the truth. You want people to see real life, and in order to do that, you need to have access whenever you can get it. To be guarded off, it wouldn't be a real film, and it would be something that I want to be a part of. To be honest with you, so I mean, to get that access is great. I mean, because you want to hear those little you want to get those little moments that nobody else sees. Yeah, because like I said before, Vince is such a media trained guy that he'll give you that perfect soundbite. But I don't want the perfect soundbite. I want that one. I want something that he would just kind of say, and you would be like, "Oh, did I say that? Yeah, yeah, you just said that, Vince." But so, I mean, I think that's what having the all access did was get him away from just being in front of the lights and camera and just saying what he thought he should say and gave us those moments that we really needed to hear from him.
Talk about what didn't go into this documentary. It's always fascinating what you have to leave off a table just due to time. What were some nuggets that you had to leave out and why?
Oh, man, there's a lot. I mean, when you're dealing with a guy that has 22 years, there's just you can go into a lot of things. I think the biggest thing that we didn't that we I wish we could have gone more into. I wish we could have gone more into a little bit further back into his Toronto days with him and Tracy a little bit more. We got some of that, and we got yeah, we just didn't get there, and we couldn't nail down Tracy for an interview. He was like a ghost, man. He like not that he said he wanted to be in it, but he just his timing and schedule, like you would plan it and then they had to get changed, and so we just time ran out on him. So that's a big thing, not having Tracy in it, which I wish we really could have because it would have been the icing on the cake. And then some of those later years, like his years with Memphis and Sacramento, kind of his journeyman mentor years, where he became that I won't even say journeyman. He just became more like a a solid role player and a mentor to a lot of to the younger NBA players. We weren't able to really dig into that for timing. You know, we had it, but we kind of had to tell the story more succinct than normal than I would normally like to, or else this would have been a 2.5 hour documentary.
You know, one of the other things I like, anytime you start off with that person's mom, you know you're gonna have something good. There was no, and I really love this, why you set this up, because it's about the upbringing. I was telling somebody earlier before you came on, it's about that upbringing. There's no way that Tracy was gonna, Vince was gonna get in any kind of trouble. It wasn't gonna happen. And having the one of his teachers in there, that's always fabulous, because that means they did the right thing. They could see stuff going out. When you got that soundbite from, I'm not sure if it was the librarian or someone that was close to the mom, the husband that says, "Don't let him play football." Talk about that.
Oh man, that was such a great piece. You know, I think the one thing you just said is right. When you can get into the family and really dig into who Vince really is, because you can hear, obviously you can hear from Vince all day, but you need to hear from the people around him to really form who he is and who he grew up to be and how he grew up in the first place. So having the teacher in there was amazing, because they were really close. They taught the same high school. She taught him. Her husband was involved, but getting that soundbite of her husband being like, get him off that football field, because we see the talent in him on the basketball court. Because as you saw some of his highlights, he was 7 years old and he looks like he's like 12, 14, dribbling the ball up court and shooting. He's way above his peer level, even at that point. And so you just saw the talent. And you know, and to be honest with you, Vince was just, as he pointed out, he was just good at everything he kind of picked up, whether that was football, whether that was that band, whether that's high jump or track or volleyball. He's just an athletic guy, just had a natural, like she said, a God-given talent.
One of the other things that you made me happy about, I'm that band guy. I went to an all-white high school. I knew being in band and being in a marching drum and bugle corps, that's where I was heading, becoming a disc jockey. I remember the high school football coach, because they were all white, wanted me to play football. And I said, I'm not playing football. No, I'm going to be doing stuff. I'm the drummer. I'm teaching everybody what they're doing. And I became a disc jockey leading up to all the stuff that I did. So I love that aspect of stuff. But what really got it for me, he was in the band, not only the drum major, but that sax player. That did it for me. If you just done 10 minutes of that, I was okay with that. Talk about the band thing, because anybody who's been in band shapes you, really does.
Yeah, I mean, he was formed with music at an early age. His stepfather was the band director, and so they had him in music from the jump. And it's just a part of his life. This is a part of his life today, and that's one of the things we weren't able to show as much of, because he still makes music to this day. He has a studio. He's out there playing. He does a little rapping himself, which is, you know, it's all great. And but having that foundation of music, and not basically saying you don't have to be one thing. You can be great at multiple things at the same time. So like we put in the film, he would play the band at the football game. He would be the band director at the halftime of the football game, and then go right out and go play a basketball game later that night or the next day. So, you know, he was more than just an athlete. He was also this band player. You know, he had great grades. You know, he can do it all.
And that's what people don't understand. It's not easy to be that drum major, having to go put that uniform on, and then either that night or the next day to go play football or baseball or basketball. Yeah. That is not easy, because you got different rehearsals, and you and that band, the band is more stringent than football. You cannot miss that rehearsal. And being in a band, a lot of times the band is better than the football team. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think it showed that he was a leader, right? He wanted to be that director of the band, you know, or what's it called, the band major or whatever it is. But he wanted to be that person. He wanted to be that leader, and he wanted to work hard to get there. And it wasn't easy, because even though his stepfather was in charge of the band, his stepfather took himself out of the equation when it became time for him to become the director, because he's like, I don't want to have any part of it. I want the other teachers or assistants to help out in that regard. So so Vince had to really prove that he could be that person, and he was up for the challenge. And that shows you what kind of mentality he has, because he not only wanted to be the best then and be a leader, he took that same trait and took it over to the basketball court at the same time. I mean, he wanted to be the leader of the team and help his teammates out. People don't really understand this because Vince was so good, and because he made the level of his teammates raised to his level. Not he wasn't the only guy to go to college for free on that team and get scholarships. I think about 8 or 9 of the guys end up going and playing college basketball and getting the education because of that. So he not only helped himself, but he helped a whole other people change their lives in a different way.
I'm glad you brought up that point of when he goes to graduate. People don't realize that is a special thing. When you get that close, I never went to school to graduate. I went to school to get what I needed to become that disc jockey, leading up to everything that I'm doing now. And then, so for me, the guidance counselor said, I don't think your grades are strong enough. It's because I already had what I needed. I had my communication courses and I got the job. He told me I wasn't going to get the job, and I proved him wrong. So what I liked about this, Vince went to go get his degree and not play that game. Thank you so much for putting that in there. That means a lot to all these people coming up, because talk about why that is important and not to give too much away.
Yeah. It's just for him and his family, education was number one. And there was no way he wasn't going to go to that event, to his graduation. And, I think the biggest thing is that he proves that he shows what's really important in life is standing up for his character and his beliefs. And he went out there and did it. And it wasn't like that anything went wrong that day, because to be honest with you, talking about that shot, if that shot is changed, if it goes the other way, then the narrative goes the other way as well. It's like he can do it all. I think the biggest thing that we weren't able to put in there, that I wish we could have, is that to talk a little bit more about that, and how he just felt like he was more supported in that day. He felt like he had support from some people, but not from everybody. And so I think that's that goes back to it. He just wished that he was supported overall from the organization, from the league, from everybody, because he felt like that should be a big teaching moment for everybody. Like, I'm going back to get my education. We're about education. Let's talk about this more. And so for him and his family, there was no doubt that he was going to get that thing, his diploma, because it was important. And not that it took away from anything from his game at all.
Talk about this. Now talk about support. Support from Canada. I deal with Canada a lot with all the stuff that I'm doing. When you're being traded and you don't know about this, well, that's going to mess with anybody's head, because you got different things going on. Talk about when he's putting in his all for Toronto, but at the same time, all of a sudden you're traded. And then, it's a turncoat. No, it's business at that point. Yeah. Great capturing that. Talk about that.
Yeah. Toronto, this was like their first star, their first basketball star. And he literally put basketball on the map in Canada. If it wasn't for, all these new players that come into the league, Vince was the person they looked up to. And to have that person taken away from you, from a place that's so passionate about sports or hockey and things like that, is, they see it from a different point of view. It felt like a family that was being ripped away from them. I'm sure they felt the same way when Gretzky was traded, away to the Kings. But for Canada, it was. I can understand their as a fan, I can understand how they felt. But you're right, it's also a business. And for Vince, he felt like he felt betrayed in his own right, in a way, because he was giving his all. It's not like he wanted to go anywhere. All he wanted to do was play basketball at the highest level for Toronto. And when things changed and they didn't stay the same, as basketball is a business, and he learned it the hard way, after giving a lot to that country, to that team. He got traded away, and he wasn't, and he showed it, when he came back. He wasn't happy, getting booed. I think it really affected him, the way when he came back for that game, when he got booed, and he put all that energy into how he played. He put up one of his better games of that year.
last two questions. Talk about why this documentary is important and showing this. How much of a relief for you to finally having it done is that for you?
Oh man, I think the biggest thing, I'll talk about the relief part first. I think it was hard. It wasn't easy making this documentary during the pandemic. You didn't know. Obviously, nobody knew what the world was going to be like. We were trying to figure things out. How can we film? How can we go places? People weren't really traveling. We were trying to, do some things through Zoom and do those interviews and remote. So that was it was interesting making the documentary that way, but we figured it out, and I think we came out with a great product because we had to go a little deeper than we normally would have. I think we just all had to like really focus and concentrate. Talking about why this documentary, I think the why is because Vince was, for me in my life, Vince was a big part of my basketball life, and I feel like he was like a lot like that for a lot of people. And his journey is just unique in the fact that he started out as a superstar and, slowly fade. When people slowly fade, they usually just kind of fall out the league. But no, he didn't do that. He took that and he reinvented himself into this new player that was able to last another 12 years. People might have a 10-year career, but he was able to adapt and turn himself into this player that that kept going. Like you're like, this is another year. Another year. And I think that just historically, people need to see that you can do that. You can come out here. You don't have to be just this one singular person, but you can reinvent yourself throughout your career. Whether it's a basketball player, whether it's an electrician, whether it's a painter, whomever it is, you can. It's a story of reshaping and rebirth. Honestly, over and over again.
Yeah, he became the Cal Ripken of baseball, which is a great honor. I mean, nobody gets to claim that, and then you dare someone, hey, we want someone to come up and surpass that. We shall see.
That's the perfect thing you said. He's the Cal Ripken of basketball.
What do you got coming up?
For me, I am currently looking for my first feature. I have a couple of things out there, but the biggest thing that I've been working on is my own production company. It's called Invisible Collective. It is a production company that we do a lot of content and commercials and things, but it's all about the mission behind it, which is getting the underrepresented represented out there. So, a lot of our people, we come from the diverse background, whether it's women, minorities, the LGBTQ plus community. We champion those voices to get out there and to make projects and to direct and things like that. So that's the biggest thing that I've been working on lately. But in the meantime, I'm out there still searching for that next project to see what's coming up.
So give your social media links for everybody so they can keep track of your progress. And why Crackle? I mean, I think this is great. Why and how did that happen?
Crackle was first on board. They loved it. They loved the project, and it was, they came in full force. It's like this. We want this project, and to me, I want to be wanted. And so when somebody comes to you and immediately says yes, it's like, okay, they said yes, and they said this is why we want it. So Crackle was just a great partner to have it there. They have a lot of good content on there, and they wanted to promote it and get business name out there. So I think that's why Crackle for me. And then social media links, I am at Just Polk, JUSTPOLK on most social media. And then my company is Invisible Collective, and that as usually at _weareinvisible.co, and the website is socials, We Are Invisible, _ We Are Invisible, and then it's the website is weareinvisible.co.
And Justin, I want to thank you for putting on a great documentary. All the hard work goes to it, because I always tell people, a lot of filmmakers, it takes an average of 7 years to do a documentary. If you can get it done before that, that means you did something right, everything lined up, because you know what it's like to do that and how difficult it is. Congratulations on that. And I have to give my rating. I call it the 4 E's. It's entertaining, it's exciting, it's emotional, and it's education. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More. And as I always sign up, see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it. Justin, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian.